And that's reflected in the way in which the EU is funding the pre-accession process. There's a lot of funding comes in here. Of course, the process is slowing down and there are political reasons behind that, and of course there are concerns about that. But let's never forget that the amount of work being put in to completing the detail of the chapters that have been open is substantial. There's a lot of work being done, there's a lot of work still to be done. The absorption capacity of the government and related agencies for doing an awful lot more is a question mark. So the time frame for getting all of this done is not necessarily a political thing. The time frame, at the end of the day, is a technical thing. How quickly can the work be done? How easily can it be done? And how effectively can it be done? And there's an awful lot of work being done. The process is important. It's been an important part of the government's agenda. It's been, if you like, a building block for many of the institutional and regulatory and other environmental changes for business and so on.
Can't you say that the hopeful end result of actually Turkey getting into the EU is less important than the process?
At the moment, yeah, sure. The final decisions on Turkey's membership are going to reflect the global economic situation and Turkey's positioning at the time.
This is making Turkey more institutionally strong.
We believe so, yeah.
But it's a real shame for Europe. I mean, two chapters, the energy chapter and also the one on foreign security, they remain locked because of the Cyprus issue. And these are two important issues that they're vital to Turkey, to Europe's energy security as well as its defense. Does EBRD do they take any efforts in order to lobby the European governments towards EU accession?
No, that's not our job. The politics of EU accession issues and the relationship between the EU and the government of Turkey are not something we would intervene in. We are technocrats. We work on the technical part of the process.
You commented early about institutionalized monopolies in Turkey, with economic power being consolidated in the hands of a few families. What is the EBRD doing to stop that, to break apart those monopolies and to create a flourishing participatory economic system where small and medium enterprises can thrive?
Well, if you like, it's why we're here. One of the reasons that the government of Turkey invited us into this country is that they themselves had instituted a process of breaking down monopolies, and in particular state-controlled parts of the economy are being privatized. The private sector's role is growing, state sector is reducing, and alongside of that, the diversification of ownership of production and resources and management of production and resources is also diversifying. These are very clear objectives of the government. They have been for a long time. It's why we're here, and that's our job. So supporting SMEs, supporting mid-sized corporates, supporting strong investment that helps with this transition is the very essence of EBRD.
Investors used to complain, or used to have a lot of gripes about the government intervening in the telecommunications sector and the energy sector, even in sugar. But the government's gone a long way in actually liberalizing and making structural reforms so that such interventions not only aren't necessary, but they're allowing the free market economy to regulate itself. Do you foresee any privatizations in Turkey in the future or other liberalizing reforms that investors should take note of?
Well, there's still a lot of work to be done to complete some of the key reforms. The energy sector reforms are still a work in progress. They're a very well strategized set of reforms. A lot of work's been done, but there's still quite a lot of work to do. The agricultural sector in this country, we all know, has got more potential than has been currently realised. The state sector, the government's approach to intervention in pricing, protectionism, support for agriculture, as in many countries around the world, is something that maybe needs some work for that potential to really be realised. We see that as a priority in this country, and we are here to support reform in that sector. The government's reform agenda at the moment is a big one. Let's not overload it. Getting reforms accepted in principle, getting the policies adopted is one thing. Getting the nuts and bolts implemented, the real hard part of reform, takes an awful lot of time and effort. And there is a lot of work being done at the moment in a few sectors.
EBRD is allocating funding in the agribusiness sector, specifically to make Turkish agricultural products EU compliant. Could Turkey ultimately be the breadbasket of Europe, possibly even the breadbasket of the Middle East?
I think we understand and we believe that Turkey's potential for agricultural production is much greater than the current levels. So that's true. For Turkey to be described as a breadbasket for Europe or for other parts of the region is a big call. There's a lot of potential for growth, but it's a country that's had agriculture for a long time. It's got some very productive regions, but relative, let's say, to Ukraine or the Kuban region in Russia, the potential for growing wheat, for example, at a decent price is not strong. You talk to poultry producers and meat producers about how cheaply they can access grain from elsewhere as opposed to in Turkey, and it's a substantial difference, reflecting things like climate, soil type, land ownership, and so on. So I think breadbasket's is a big word, but the key is to understand that the potential for a significant increase in production, and also for modifying some of the production so that it's more internationally compliant. There's a lot of potential.
I'd like to talk about energy security, Michael. Turkey is importing most of its energy from abroad, with 20 to 30% of its gas coming from Iran, even more coming from Russia. Even Russia is a major investor in Turkey's nuclear energy program. What is the EBRD doing to help Turkey wean its energy sources off of foreign sources?
Well, let's be very clear on one thing. Turkey is going to be reliant on importation of oil and gas for a long time. It's in exactly the same position as Western Europe and much of the world. Oil and gas won't be replaced by things like renewables in my lifetime, certainly, and maybe not yours either. What we're doing is supporting with our finance and with other technical inputs, investment into renewable energy. We've got various programs for doing that. There's a lot of unrealised renewables potential in Turkey. It's going to take a long, long time before that becomes a substantial part of Turkey's energy production.
What investments is EBRD invested in now in Turkey, and which ones does it look to increasing its investments in?
Well, we're growing our portfolio. We've only been here 3 years. A lot of our portfolio has gone through banks to specific uses, so micro and small business in difficult regions, small agriculture, energy efficiency for the small and medium-sized enterprises and households. Maybe one of our more interesting facilities, which is being utilised quickly, is providing 12-year money to banks to finance mid-sized renewable energy projects. So in total, with co-financing and EBRD frameworks, we're talking about more than 700 million euros so far that goes to finance renewable energy projects of up to something like 40 megawatts. It's the very important area for realising the renewable potential, the renewable energy investment potential in this country, and it's one of the facilities that we're very happy with. But other than that, we've worked with to help with privatisation of electricity distribution, privatisation of gas distribution. We're We've got some loans with industrial, with the manufacturers who are doing a good job of exporting. It's diversifying.
One thing that's very interesting about the EBRD is that it bridges the gap between where the private sector would naturally invest and where the private sector would not go.
Yeah, that's one of the things that EBRD has to be when it invests is additional. So we have to either be there because the private sector finance is not available, or private sector finance is more available because we're there. So it makes the job more interesting. It means that we, while still following sound banking principles, can sort of push the envelope a little in terms of where we go with our money.
So if there was an investment, or is there someone seeking capital, particularly small, medium enterprise, if the EBRD jumps on board and provides some microfinance, is that in some way a stamp of approval that helps that small, medium enterprise collect more funding from international or even domestic sources?
Yeah, the money's going through a bank from EBRD. There's no clear stamp of approval, but the EBRD's the perception.
But it would help attract more.
It helps a lot, yeah.
Because you have a very rigorous process of
assessing. If a company has got EBRD finance, it means that it has gone through a rigorous process. That's correct, and that's something which companies throughout our region actively seek from EBRD, and it's something that we don't jealously guard, but we value significantly.
So the EBRD is going to be moving into North Africa soon. What is their take on the current market potential, and which countries do they see as priority countries?
EBRD shareholders have asked EBRD to get involved with countries, again, in transition in North Africa. Starting with Egypt and Tunisia and also with Morocco, there's an understanding among our shareholders that we're seeing a process start to take place where there will be a change in the manner of government, there'll be a change in the manner of the investment climate, and there will be a move toward a different political and economic management scenario. And that's what we have got a good track record for supporting. So the initial countries are Egypt, Morocco and Tunisia, and at the moment we're going through fact-finding. Our shareholders are still going through a process of changing the enabling legislations and so on to make this happen, but we do expect it to happen, and we've got resource being devoted to that at the moment.
The Arab awakening must be a great challenge for your sovereign risk analysis, particularly for Egypt.
That's our job. Let's think back to 1991, 92 and 93 when, for example, in 92, 93, you saw the Soviet Union turn into a fairly large number of new republics. We had to get in there and build portfolios, assess risk, and make our business work, and we've done that in a manner which has exceeded most expectations.
That's a very good comparison.
The job's different, the job's different in North Africa, but it's the same thing. There's countries that are new on the market in a new form.
What correlations could you draw between the post-Soviet Union reforms and the transformations that are happening in Africa today?
North Africa.
North Africa.
Just the fact that there's the transformation happening. It's hopefully a genuine transition from one form of politics to a different form of politics, and that is hopefully going to be parallel to from one form of economic management to a different form of economic management. And what we've undoubtedly seen in the rest of the EBRD region is that that transition, if managed properly and if supported properly, can be to the benefit of the country and the population of the countries as well as to the region at large.
Michael Davey from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Alan. It was a pleasure.
That concludes this week's episode of Corridor 39. Look forward to seeing you next week.